Let me know when you see us streaming on YouTube, and I'll check Facebook.
Alright.
Okay. Oh, I forgot to copy and paste the title for our. Oh yeah,
Stretching out my neck, guys.
we're-
I'm stretching out my neck.
we're live.
Whoa,
We're live.
hold on. Why is this going through the speaker?
You have to mute the tab. I told you.
Stretching out my neck, guys.
Mute the YouTube tab.
What I did? Hold on.
Why is this going?
Oh, it's going on Safari. That's why. Stupid. Guys, sorry.
How's
Here
the
we
audio?
are.
How's that? Other than the echo that you just heard, how's
Can
the
you guys
audio?
can you guys hear us okay? Everything is good?
Hi. Okay. Dylan, Theo, Kirill, specialist generalist. Good day. Oh, we already have some questions.
Yeah.
Ali, is that odd?
No. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to tell them because enough people have
We'll
asked
read
me
it
about
out
this.
loud for people that are not.
Yeah, it's,
listening.
okay, so yeah, I'm going to do this before we do the live stream because it's not related to the topic, but this is actually a photograph that my wife took. It's modeled after the Audrey Hepburn thing. I'm sitting in my wife's photo. This is where she meets her clients and stuff, the photography thing. So she's a photographer, and this is a sort of a recreation of the thing that she did with the girl. So.
All right, so let's go through the Q&A.
Okay, let's do that. Let me
By the way,
start
I'm
with...
gonna keep an eye on the Facebook just in case we get any Facebook questions. Whoa,
Mhm.
did you just send me something?
No, I didn't. Hold on. So, yeah, I don't know. The speaker's going crazy.
Theo Mikey.
Let's do the intro.
Oh, the intro. Go ahead.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. This is an Ask Us Anything episode. So, you know, my name is Ali Rizvi. I'm the author of The Atheist Muslim. With me is Armin Navabi, the founder of Atheist Republic and the author of Why There Is No God. Welcome everybody. Oh, I already said that. Yeah, we're already getting a whole bunch of questions. Again, I just want to say a couple of things before we start. SecularJihadist.com is the website. If you'd like to support us, you can go to patreon.com/sjme or just secularjihadist.com. There's going to be a link there. We are starting on a new project where we are trying to get up to 500 patrons. We're more than halfway there, but if we get 500 patrons, then we're going to start doing translations of some of our most prominent podcasts, if not all of them.
Not the most prominent ones. We're gonna go with the ones that are we think they're gonna be the most helpful ones to an Arab-speaking audience that doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
I think we should go with the. My suggestion was to go with the two Abdullah videos, one on Mohammed and the other one on the Quran.
On the Quran, yeah.
Translate those to Arabic first.
Yeah, so we're gonna have. I think the Jerry coin would be a good one too. Yeah, there's a on science and faith. So there are several episodes, but we want to translate them into Arabic, into Farsi, into Malay, into Urdu, into Bengali, all Turkish, whatever languages are spoken out there in the Muslim world, and
we could ask
we're trying to get them out there.
Patrons which video should get translated next. And to what language? Yeah. By the way, I found like this place. I'm gonna actually advertise them at some point, if they, but once they need more clients. But this is they are really good at translating. So basically, I thought this was gonna be a nightmare because I had to translate the videos. First, I had to transcribe the videos to English, then translate. Then the transcription will have to be translated to Arabic. Then the Arabic has to be time stamped and turned into an SRT files, and then SRT files had to be uploaded on the video as captions. And that was like, I thought I had to find one person for each one of these steps, but I found a group of people that are doing the entire process. And they're the price is very good, and they're covering a lot of languages. So, and any languages that they don't cover, they're hiring. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's great. So we're going to do that. Again, if you can go there, again, at the secularjihadist.com, there's a link to the Patreon. If you want to sign up, you can do so for as little as $1 a month, essentially. So, you don't even have to do that much. If you can't do it, that's fine. If you could if you like what you hear here, if you like the Secular Jihadist podcast, just give us a rating on iTunes or share it on your social media feeds. Whatever you can do, all of it helps. We just want to get the word out there. And thank you all for your support. I think this has been an amazing year. This podcast just kind of exploded, and not the Allahu Akbar way. All over the place. We've got a growing listenership in Muslim majority countries, which is pretty incredible. Tens of thousands of downloads every month. And so what we want to do is we really want to expand that, and since it's resonating so much over there, and get it out in some of their languages too. So that's our project for now. Anyway, you good to get to the questions, Armin?
Yeah.
You have something else to say?
Go ahead. Yeah, we already have a lot of questions.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions. Again, we're going to try to get to as many of these as we can. If we don't get to it, we're really sorry. Don't let that discourage you from coming on next time, and we'll just go through. So the first question is from Dylan. Welcome, Dylan. When can ex-Muslims of North America visit the Islamic Center of Reseda in Los Angeles? I don't know about that. I don't know if that ever plans. Do you have?
That sounds like a great idea. Is there a reason why you're suggesting there? Like I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna suggest that to them because of Dylan.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and if you know anybody there who wants to invite them,
yes, so that we
come
can go
in
inside, not just outside, right? I want if a mom or some person from there be like, yeah, we'll invite you in, and you could just interview the imam and some people there. That would be amazing. That would be even better.
Yeah, and a lot of these people also like they like debates, so you can always ask them. Say, would you like to do a debate with some people who've left Islam?
Actually, if you have any imams listening to us anywhere in North America, if you want to invite us over to your mosque for some discussion, we'll find a way to make it happen. Can we promise that, Ali, or can we? Well,
we can do that. I mean, reasonably, of course. Yeah. I mean, if they want us to come to Australia and pay our own way and all that, it might be a little difficult. But still, we'd have to come up with some way to do it.
So
if it's as much as it is logistically possible and reasonable,
right.
Our intention.
So if we get to like 1,000 patrons, maybe we could just like go to any mosque or any place that people want us to go to talk to. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but that would be cool. But so next.
The next question is from the great Theo Maki. Could you invite Abdullah Gad with the topic being Mohammed's controversies? Aisha was just a start on other controversies in his biography.
You covered a lot more than Aisha, though.
I think that when we had that, because the problem with the whole Aisha thing is it's very straightforward. So I don't know if it's worth having a whole podcast on it, but we do mention
Aisha should have her own episode because I think we don't do Aisha any justice because Aisha's story is way beyond what Muhammad did to her. You know what I mean? Like Aisha's story just gets started after Muhammad dies, right? All the politics, the wars, the things that she has to deal with after that. Those stories are amazing. So I think Aisha deserves a whole episode to herself at some point.
And we actually did talk to Abdullah to come back, and he agreed to come back to do an episode about the growth of Islam after the death of Muhammad, and that's a story in which Aisha figures pretty prominently, because I mean she teamed up with Muawiyah to have the war against Ali, and that was a big civil war in Islam.
Like I don't know how much of these stories are real, right? What percentage of it is real? But the character of Aisha is pretty badass, right? I think.
Wasn't there a book? Someone had written a book about Aisha, and then they stopped it from publication or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. If any of you guys know about it, then let us know. Right. Billy B just did is it super chat? That's what you call it, right? Super, Armin?
Oh wait, we got a super chat.
Oh, is that what it's called? I still have to figure out the super chat.
Thank you, Billy B. Thank you.
Billy B. Thank you. So we're gonna get to your question in just a bit. In fact, we should probably get to it now.
No, he hasn't asked it.
Okay, you are. Okay, when you do, we'll get to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Discuss. So, Okay, so yeah, that's a continuation of Theomaki's question. Was discuss the torture, censorship, and warfare in his biography that inspires the extremists today. Yeah, that again, we talked about a lot of that before, but we are going to do further episodes on it for sure.
Right.
But I wanted to get to some other questioners as well. So Kirill is asking, you should do one episode on immigration.
Yes. Good idea.
And that's a good idea, and we actually did one last year. With the old setup, when we had Faisal and Yasmin on, we did have an episode that was specifically about immigration. So that was an interesting episode. If you want to check it out, I think a lot of that is still relevant today. And it was, there were some disagreements among all of us when it came to it, but I thought it was a pretty good episode. So do check that out if you get a chance. But we definitely will be.
We should do it with a guest that is like an expert on immigration or something.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think someone who has had experience on it and also has worked in it as well, rather than just a polemicist.
Right. We're also in talk with somebody that is very. I don't know if he would categorize himself like that. Oh, actually, I can mention his name. Can I mention his name? The guy that we're inviting.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah, Earthling Carl.
Oh, this guy, you said it was an alt-right guy, right?
I don't know if he did. I know he's sympathetic to alt-right, but I don't know if he labels himself as alt-right.
Yeah, I wanted to get somebody like that on for a very long time. So
right.
Armin just told me about someone, and I saw some of his videos, and so he's a pretty interesting character. So I think that's gonna be a really fun episode. So we're gonna get him on, and that should be, there should be some sparks that fly there. So that'll be good. Okay. So Billy B's question is it worth translating books into Arabic? People who can read probably know English, right?
Sorry,
no.
Say it again.
He said, is it worth translating books into Arabic because people who can read probably know English, right?
No,
that's not necessarily true. There's most people actually over there.
That makes so. Are you suggesting that only the only people that anybody in there's a lot anybody in Arab countries that doesn't speak English? The only people that don't speak, most of the people that don't speak English, they don't know how to read and write at all, because that would be very significant claim. No, there's a lot of forget Arab countries. Just go to Japan. Everybody knows how to read and write. Most people don't know how to speak English. So is that the question? Am I getting the question? Am I understanding the question?
I think that's what I understood. But I think what he's saying is that would it matter to translate books into Arabic because people who can read Arabic would probably know English, but that's not true.
That's
the
not
majority
true
of people. At all.
And
the majority of people who know Arabic, who can read Arabic and are very, very good with Arabic, a lot of them don't really know English.
You have university professors that are experts in Arabic and they teach and study in Arabic and can't speak English, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, English is not the default language, but and also translating things to Arabic is very helpful because it's one of the least, per capita wise, it's one of the least translated to languages. Like the amount of books that are available to an Arab speaking audience, given that how many Arab speaking people are out there, there's 22 Arab countries out there, right? Is actually embarrassingly low. So translating any work to Arabic is very helpful, which is kind of ironic because there used to be a time where everything was being translated to Arabic, and that was the standard language of science at some point, right? But
actually, it's really interesting. The word al means the in Arabic, so like Al-Qaeda, the base. So a lot of English words that have al in the beginning, like algebra, alcohol, actually, alchemy, all of these things they're inventions of the Arabs, the people who spoke the language. So it is kind of interesting that there was a time when it was very different back there. Okay, so Robert Roberts is saying, "Hail Zenu, come my fellow ex-Muslims, let us free Lord Zenu from his mountain prison." Okay. All right. Any comment? Okay. Anyway, so go on. So now we have someone. Their name is Cunt Spell, so obviously you mentioned the name. Thank you for coming on.
Why are you making it so difficult for us? You want to try to demonetize all our YouTube videos? That's what.
No, that's great. Why can't we say that's what their name is? Okay. You have to refer to people by their name.
Okay.
Right. Right. We always hear about FGM in Islam. Is male circumcision widespread? It's universal, male circumcision. Yeah, it's actually mandated bizarre, like it is for Judaism.
Bizarre. I actually remember one time, walking in somebody and seeing something that I shouldn't have seen. I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, it's actually bizarre if somebody isn't circumcised. Like, that's very bizarre. Okay.
Yeah, so, and one thing that I want to mention, as people talk about, well, FGM is not Islamic. So I always respond, I'm like, well, is male circumcision Islamic? And they're like, yeah, male circumcision is Islamic. But the problem is the argument they give for FGM is, well, FGM is not in the Quran and it predates Islam. Well, now, guess what else is not in the Quran? Male circumcision is not in the Quran. It's in the Hadith. Islam. Right, and it predates Islam. So it's the same argument, and both of them appear in the Hadith. And some basic facts, male circumcision is essentially, it's considered mandatory by pretty much everybody across the board. In the Sunni schools of thought, there are 4 major schools of thought, the Hanafis, the Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali. In all 4 of them, FGM is recommended. In the Shafi'i sect, it's actually mandatory. So the Shafi'i, and these are people who, like, for example, in Malaysia and Indonesia, a lot of Eastern African countries, in Somalia, the rate of FGM is about 98%. In Egypt, it's over 89%. So
how would you respond to this when somebody says these two things are not even comparable? FGM is way, way worse than male circumcision.
I would respond to it the way that we had an episode with Brian Earp on genital cutting in general.
Talked about this,
and we talked about male circumcision. And he's actually one of the wisest people I know and the most well-read people I know on this. And he said that we need to stop talking in gender terms when it comes to genital cutting, because if you have a baby and a child who's helpless, it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. If you have a newborn and you're taking a saw to their genitals, it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. It's just it's child abuse.
Technically, female genital mutilation, it would be the equivalent of that would be to chop off the whole penis, wouldn't it?
It depends. The WHO has 4 different kinds of female genital mutilation. The most common one is type 4. Which is just a pricking or a nicking of the clitoris. So they just kind of slice it a little bit. That's less invasive than male circumcision, but it's also considered illegal. It's also illegal.
Both of them should be illegal anyway.
Because it's FGM. So, so they should both be illegal. And the other really important point is that if you defend male circumcision, you don't have any legal argument against female circumcision. Like if you say something like, well, it's a parent's decision and it doesn't cause that there are people who do it for cultural reasons, it's the religious reasons, then if you have those legal arguments to defend male circumcision, you cannot take somebody to court for FGM and you just have a weaker case. So we have to get rid of we have to talk about infant genital cutting.
We have a full episode on this. Go look it up. It's pretty good. What's the name of that episode?
It's called Male Circumcision. I think,
go look it up. It's a really good episode. We have celebrity in the live chat.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
We have celebrity?
Okay,
cool. Okay. We're gonna get to them. Okay. I don't know who you're talking about, but I just want to get at least one question from everybody. So the people who are asking multiple questions, I'll take a look at it, but I'm gonna try to get to as many different questioners as possible. So, and then we'll try to get to as much as we can. Perobazation. Okay, that's an interesting name. Is asking why the 2 terms Shia and Shiite.
Oh yeah.
So Shiite, my understanding is Shiite is it's a pretty funny word, but it's also refers to individuals. So if there's someone who's an individual person who's like, well, he's a Shiite. The Shia is more of an all-encompassing. It can be used to describe individuals as well. It's an adjective.
No, can I just say? Shia? Okay, so the word Shia in Arabic has like the he at the end, right? The he. So if you put the 2 dot at the top of it, it would be Shiat. If you don't put the 2 dot at the top, it would be Shia. So it's just that there's something in Arabic that could sometimes be ha without the 2 dots and sometimes could be t without with the 2 dots. That's why sometimes it's shiat and sometimes it's Shia, right?
Right.
All right. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's the Arabic script as well.
Right.
Where did it go? Okay. So next question, Robert is asking, what cities do you live in, if you don't mind, and are you both Canadian? Armin, you want to talk about that, or
yeah, Vancouver? Yes, I have dual citizenship of Canada and Iran.
I live in Toronto. I have dual citizenship of Canada and Pakistan. So yeah. And my parents were born in India, so I'm Indian Pakistani.
And you lived in Saudi Arabia for a while.
And Libya, yeah. So
okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't have an identity. I don't have a national identity. I think it's just I like not having. I'm a third culture kid.
That's why you're a fucking globalist. That's why we both.
It wasn't my fault.
No, I'm just kidding. I know. I didn't know this was like for most of my education life, I thought globalism. I didn't even know that's a bad word, but Irfan Karl was gonna accuse us of being globalists. So
see. Well, I'm gonna say guilty as charged. Yeah. Okay, so there's one important thing about this, and this is, I guess, it might be a unique experience for me, but it defines me in a lot of ways. I guess in a way that nationalism doesn't. Is that when I was born in Pakistan, and then when I was 6 months old, we moved to Tripoli, Libya. So I lived there for a while. I knew that I wasn't Libyan. Then I lived in England for a year. Then after that, we moved to Saudi Arabia, and I knew that I wasn't Saudi. And then when I was about 14, I went to Pakistan for the first time to stay there for over a year. And then after that, I went back to Saudi. But when I went back to Pakistan, I always thought I was Pakistani. And then I realized when I got back there that I wasn't. They treated me like some English-speaking foreigner who was raised overseas. And they always kind of made fun of me. So I kept on. Then I lived in Canada. I lived in the U.S. for 5 years. And I realized that I don't really have to feel like I'm part of anything.
I like being Canadian. I lived in Iran for like 21 years or so, but even when I was in Iran, I didn't like the idea of having a national identity. I like nationalism. It made as much sense to me as religion. But I know we have a lot of people that disagree with us on that. Yeah. Anyways, let's go to the next question.
Okay, the next question is Kirill saying, I was talking about your wife's photograph.
Way, yeah, I know. I'm talking about is genetically modified skeptic. He has a very popular YouTube channel.
I've heard of it.
And he's very good. Yeah, go check it out.
Okay, so that's cool.
We're going to get to his question soon, but he's really good. Go check out his channel.
Yeah. Kirill is saying they're talking about the wife's photography. We have an episode with Alishba. It's called Me Too, Religion, and something and Islam. It was one of the earlier episodes, so be sure you check it out, and she'll talk about her photography there. Armin, did you almost spill your drink? Did you, Armin?
It was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
He's caught it since then. Stephen is asking, any recommendations for raising kids with respect to dealing with religious family?
No, you're going to start. Okay. Ali's going to now speak for like half an hour.
Me? No, I was going to ask you to. Oh, you don't have any kids. Armin doesn't have any kids.
You forgot about that?
I forgot about that. So I had my first child at 41, so I spent most of my life childless, and I loved it. And now I have a kid, and I love it too. My whole thing with raising kids is my parents were somewhat, they were religious. They raised me. I still have a good relationship with my mother and my entire family. They let me think the way I wanted to, and I'm going to let my kids think the way that I want to. And the next question is connected. He says, what would you do if your children became Islamists?
That would be great. Finally, it would be easy to have access, get Muslims on the channel then, every time I need a Muslim to...
Well, I get asked a similar question. So it depends on, if you're talking about them committing crimes and doing violent stuff, then I couldn't deal with that. I don't think that... it's like your child being a serial killer or a rapist. That's just something that I wouldn't deal with. But Islamists, as in they want to use democracy and free speech to spread Islam and do all that stuff. If they want to do it, they can do it. I get asked what would I would do if my daughter wanted to wear hijab in school. Well, my sister did for a little while too, and my parents just let her explore it. If she does, I don't really care. She can come to me and she can ask me about it, I will tell her what I think. Her mother will tell her what she thinks, and later on, she'll do whatever. She's still going to be my kid. Wissam from Muslimish actually told me a funny story. He's an ex-Muslim.
Yeah, I told you it's going to be half an hour.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay. But no, this is a good story. But this is worth it. Okay, They asked a question.
I'm kidding.
So he told me an interesting story. He goes to the beach. So his daughter, even though he's an atheist, his daughter has chosen to wear the hijab. So she wears the hijab, and she's really, really sweet. All of his kids are really sweet, and so he's like, sometimes he's like, I feel conscious because I go to the beach and I'm sitting there in my bathing suit, and then my daughter is walking around in a hijab, and I know people are looking at me thinking, oh, this oppressive, bearded, brown father forces his daughter to wear the hijab. And he's like, no, he's like, I'm an atheist. I don't want her to wear it, but she's choosing to do it, and I'm respecting that choice. So that was kind of funny.
Like he forces his daughter to wear the hijab, but he's like half naked himself.
Yeah, so I would hope I'm not in that situation, but I do find it comical. Right. People are complicated. Human beings are complicated. There's more to human beings than what they think. Okay. Right. I'm done with my half an hour, Armin. So.
Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, so Oik Lock 22. You guys we've got the best named audiences here. Audience members. How do we tackle circumcision within the Muslim community?
How do we tackle what?
Circumcision within the Muslim community.
You tackle Islam directly.
You tackle Islam direct, but you know what? Circumcision is like one of those things. The reason it interests me so much is that this is one thing that is really pervasive beyond even just faith. I mean, even secular Jews, but even atheist.
But it's
Jews,
easier to get atheists to accept that. I mean, even the fact that atheists circumcise their children is because of religion, even though they're not religious, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's so pervasive, even beyond religious faith, is that even secular and atheist Jews somehow still stick to, a lot of them still stick to this idea of, genital cutting after, and this includes doctors, it includes the American American Academy of Pediatrics, the only medical body in the world that has actually said that the benefits outweigh the risks, but even they haven't recommended it routinely. But they actually greenlighted FGM in 2010.
What? Yeah, I remember that shit.
Yeah, so they actually greenlighted it because they said that for cultural reasons, and then they had to retract the recommendation.
Embarrassing.
Did you see what I did there?
I hope they.
Yeah. There you
go. Next question.
Okay, so Theo, I'll come back to your stuff later.
I like more theological questions. I don't know why.
Yeah, but hey, listen, it's up to the patrons. This is about what they like.
This is not patrons. This is a public one. Q&As are public. All right, go on.
So I'm gonna go on to some other people who haven't asked yet. So I will try to come back to the other ones later. Moose Gal is asking, and this is one of our newest patrons. It's good to see you again. As guys that come from countries where it's much more dangerous to come out as atheist than in the U.S., does it bother you that lots of Americans don't speak up about being an atheist? I'm not out.
Does it bother us? Does it bother you? Okay, it doesn't bother me when they decide personally not to come out as an atheist, but it bothers me when they say that others shouldn't come out either. Like it's pointless, right? Because we all have different priorities in our life, right? Like, I try to encourage people to tell them, even if it doesn't mean much to you, if you're coming out as an atheist, it helps normalize it. So I encourage people to be out as an atheist. But I understand that many people, there's so many things in people's lives. Not everybody can worry about everything, right? So obviously this is not going to be a priority thing. It's going to be very and even among activists, a lot of activists that are atheists, they're activists in other things, so they want to use other labels based on their activists, based on what they're focusing their activism on, right? So you want to highlight what you want to bring attention to. So like, maybe you want to use your humanist label or your skeptic label or whatever, animal rights label, whatever you want to bring attention to, right? The atheist label is a useful one for normalizing atheism. So I understand if somebody doesn't want to use that, but if somebody points, oh, why do you have to be open about your atheism? Then, okay, okay, so, pull a chair because now I have to now I have some issues with what you just said, right? So if somebody is not being open about their atheism, that's fine. But if somebody is shitting on other people being open about their atheism, they're clearly not seeing the point, then I want to challenge that, position. What about you, Ali?
Yeah, I think that different people have different experiences. So, it is more dangerous for someone like Armin to come out as an atheist in Iran. He told a story about that in the last episode. But I have met people. When I've been speaking in the U.S., like people from the South in the U.S., a lot of times they are traumatized for life when they come out as atheists and their entire families reject them, everything that they know their entire life. They're ostracized and they're just completely marginalized from their community. So yeah, there are many ways that people get killed in Muslim majority countries. In Western countries, you see people go through a lot more depression, isolation, alienation. The culture is very different. There are people who do go through depression, commit suicide. You hear the episode that we had with Ron Miscavige last year, who's he's the father of the current leader of the Church of Scientology. And, he talked about what it was like for people who were in Scientologists.
That was a crazy episode, eh?
Yeah, we've had an ex-Mormon on this podcast. We have had an ex-Jehovah's Witness on this podcast, and we've heard their experiences, and many of them are really, really harrowing. And I wouldn't have, so I completely understand why they wouldn't want to. So, no, it doesn't bother me. I would like to encourage them, and I think that we do it by example, as Armin's saying, that if we come out, we say, okay, we're talking about this openly, and this has been our experience, and our privileges aside, like accepting families and so on, I think that by example, when you do it, it does empower more people to come out. And we've seen that, actually. It's been growing, the ex-Muslim community, free thinkers in the Muslim world, and they're growing exponentially right now. So,
right. So,
yeah.
Just, to people that say there's no point in using labels and stuff, I call BS on that, because we need labels to be able to communicate better. We need labels to be able to normalize things, to be able to, if everything is a label, every word that you're using, your name is a label. Without labels, how are you going to be able to pass information? But the thing is that, if somebody is both a skeptic and they're an atheist, if you want to focus on or many other things, but let's just focus on these two, right? Obviously, you could ignore one of them and use the other one more, and because of they're using this, that doesn't mean you're not the other one. Obviously, you could be both of them and many other things at the same time, but the label you choose to introduce to the world is what you're trying to promote. So if you're using the skeptic label, you're basically trying to encourage skepticism, which is a very noble thing to do. But if you're trying to use the atheist label, you're helping. It's basically the same thing as being open about being gay, because you're trying to normalize it, right? You're trying to break a taboo. But anyways, let's go to the next question.
Okay, so Donkey Ballerine, Somali ex-Muslim, is asking, is kissing the Kaaba the reason 60 to 80% of most nations have herpes? No. No, that's not why. Anyway, let's go on. Right. So Billy B has sent us more money.
Don't kiss it.
Right. Yeah. Billy B just sent us more money, and he said, here is money. I am asking a question after that. Oh, no, he didn't send us more money. That was the original one.
Where is his question?
He did ask twice. The translating books into Arabic and English. That was, you already read it, yeah.
Yeah. He sent us twice. Thank you, Billy.
Yeah. So next one is, again, I'm going to move on to, Alex. Alex is saying, should atheists and ex-Muslims keep secular status private to keep a job? I am a photographer and I sometimes shoot for religious groups. Wow, Alex, you have, I actually have unique perspective on this because my wife, excuse me, is a very prominent, sort of very public secular activist and atheist, and she also is a photographer, and she has a lot of clients who are religious, a lot of actually hijabis and religious Muslims, and this is a difference. I mean, there's certain ideas that you have, and they're people, and ideas and people are different. You respect your people. I mean, she has very good relationships with her clients. They like her a lot. A lot of The more religious ones, they trust her more because she's also a South Asian from Muslim background, and they feel comfortable around her. So, I think that's a decision for each person. I think it's better that she's a boudoir photographer, so I think it's better that she talks about her beliefs about women and empowerment and everything. So I think it works in her favor in real life.
I just want to respond to this to Jim, in case he's going to leave or anything. Jim is asking when is Harris coming on the show? Sam Harris is going to be on our show on Wednesday. What time?
On Wednesday at 2 p.m. EST, 2 p.m. Eastern, and that would be, I guess, 11 a.m. Your time and Sam's time. Actually, you guys are both on the West Coast,
right?
So yeah.
So if you're a patron, please message us with any suggestions on questions. We're trying to keep it focused on Islam, because we don't want to ask the same questions that he gets asked on other shows or everywhere else he goes. So we want to basically keep with the theme of this show and focus a little bit more on Islam and his and the work that he's done against it, right?
On it, yeah. Exactly. And we kind of did that with even with Steven Pinker, because you go to Steven Pinker, he's done loads of interviews and loads of talks everywhere, but that one unique thing that we have is we have an episode with Steven Pinker where we specifically talked about enlightenment and the Muslim world as it relates to Islam and Muslims. So
by the way, before I forget, there was we got one of our patrons, Ronan. He sent us. I'm gonna do this before I forget. Before we get to other question, he made a website, spectrum.news. So SPECTRYM.news. Let me actually write it down. Put it here. And this is a very interesting website. I just wanted to give him, because he's a patron, I wanted to give him a shout out as well. When you click on it, all the articles in this website are color coded based on how left or right the news source is. Oh, their website is down. They're fixing it. Oh no! I hope they bring it back up because it was pretty cool. Anyways, just as it was really cool. Oh no, it's back up. Okay, so what it does is, like, if it's from Fox, it's red. If it's from Washington Times, it's kind of a little bit pinkish, but then if it's very lefty, it becomes very blue, and it has the US version and a Canadian version. It's out now. I'm seeing it's pretty cool. So basically, while you're reading the news, you could see how if your source. So basically, you get both sides, right? You make sure you're not in the bubble of your own political spectrum. So you could basically make sure that you're getting from the same story from all perspectives, which is a very interesting website. It's very simple, and I like it. Anyways, just wanted to give one of our
Spectrum News, Spectrum with a Y.
Spectrum with a Y. Yes. Go ahead.
So Pyro Pacman is saying a story. I am a resident in a major U.S. city and heard that the chairman of neurology at the hospital with the last name Azizi routinely asks medical students, "What's the leading cause of blindness?" And the answer, I guess, is religion. So the chairman he's basically saying that in a major U.S. city, the chairman of neurology here is a physician. He's a specialist. His last name is Azizi. He asks people, what is the leading cause of blindness and, a neurological condition? And then he answers them and he says, it's actually religion. I like him already. Get him on the podcast, Pyro. Put us in touch.
Okay, next. We got another super chat.
Can you read the question for the super chat? Otherwise, I'll lose my place.
Nusantara Rising. Thank you so much for this super chat. It's asking a political question. Is why is Skype Picot so popular for blame when it was based on Ottoman Vilayat? Wow. West and non-West think this. Both are wrong. SP wasn't just lines in sand. Well, the Sykes-Picot, that was the agreement that they had after World War One when
Syria and Levant.
When they decided,
Iraq.
all the powers that won the World War decided to come together with the powers in the Middle East to decide who gets what, and they basically started drawing lines and dividing countries. And then we have the Middle East. The map of the Middle East as you see it today was based on these agreements after World War One. It got changed a little bit again after World War Two, didn't it? Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But this is when the Kurds were never got their own country. But the reason why people look at it and they blame everything on it is, for example, one example is like if you look at Iraq, right? You see that they basically put the Shias and the Kurds and the Kurds, which are Sunni, and the Arab Sunnis in the same country. It would have a lot of people say that if it was divided based on people's ethnicity and religious beliefs, it would have a lot of this conflict could have been avoided, right? For example, Iran seems like a much more stable country because it's mostly Shia. Iraq is basically a made-up country, just like it seems like it's a Frankenstein that was just put together of different pieces. So they say that whoever drew these lines didn't understand what they were doing, didn't understand what was happening. So I don't know. That's what they're blaming it. But I think you are saying that it wasn't just the West deciding it. It was also non-West powers deciding this. Is that what you're saying? The Ottoman was deciding this as well. I mean, it's hard to look back and have hindsight is 20/20, right? Like you could make decisions now. I mean, when they were drawing these lines, there was many different factors being taken into place. It's not that easy. Even if you wanted to draw a line differently, there are so many people negotiating and making deals for each one of these decisions. It's not as easy to just, if you go look at the stories behind each one of these decisions, you realize how complicated the whole situation was. And but what do you think, Ali?
I agree. I don't really have that much to add to it. I would just say that I think that all of the stuff had its contribution. I think that whenever we look at anything historical, especially anything that has sort of any kind of geopolitical...
Sykes-Picot? Is that how you pronounce it?
Sykes-Picot.
Picot. So the T is silent?
Yeah, T is silent.
Yeah.
So I think that when it comes to anything sort of historical that has this kind of geopolitical import, it's never really a single factor. It's multifactorial. When we talk about the British imperialism, we talk about Islamic imperialism, we talk about the Ottoman Empire. Everything plays into it. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think that people do have a tendency to blame it on one or the other.
Yeah, and you have to understand, when the people were drawing these lines, they weren't really... They didn't have the luxury also to consider the long-term consequences of these, right? There was deals being made, and deals need to have to be made fast. There's echo.
Oh, shit. That's not... I accidentally opened the Facebook tab, and it's playing live. Okay, anyway, I just shut it down. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, for example, and I'm not saying they were right or wrong, but for example, they promised the Saudis something, but they promised the same thing to the French, so they double promised a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, but the thing is that given the situation at the time and given what they had to deal with and given what they needed, maybe if you were at the same situation, maybe you will see like, well, we need to do this because we need this from the Saudis, right? We need the Saudis right now to fight on our behalf. There's no other fucking way, right? So it's easy to look back in history. We're like, well, that was a mistake. Well, no, I mean, if you were there, even right now, when you look at organizing just a simple fucking student club, you see how much drama sometimes you have to do, how much politics goes, and how much you have to figure out, well, she wants this, but he disagrees. How do we deal with this? It's complicated. Imagine that on a global level, right?
I see that with the India-Pakistan separation too. Like people now, when they look back in retrospect, they're like, "Why did?" And most people, I think that I'm like, "Why did they have to separate? It didn't make any sense. It should have stayed one thing. It would have been so good." But when I talk to people who were around there at the time of partition, like my parents, they say, "Yeah, we shouldn't have separated." But at that time, if you were there, you had to do it to survive. You had to leave. I mean, people on both sides, they just had to leave because everything was a shit show.
Right.
Anyway, should we move on?
Next question.
Yeah, Brian Harrison's again plugging his brother Tekashi69, his music video Fifi with Nicki Minaj. It's not at 400 million views, my brother. It's at 4 million views. I actually did check it out. I haven't heard it with sound because otherwise it's going to start echoing, but I'll try and remember. I might not. Anyway, I'll get Armin to check it out too. Michael saying hi, everyone. Hi, Mike. Koter Ras is saying, what does the Quran say about snowy forest landscapes? Interesting that the Quran doesn't say anything about snow.
Actually, there's a hadith that
does the Quran mention snow at all?
No, but there's a hadith that when Muhammad was a kid, two angels came out and they cut off his chest open, and they washed it, and by some accounts they washed it in snow.
Yeah. There's no mention of snow in the Quran. There's no mention of actually, there's no mention of custard either. Actually, so many things that are not mentioned in the Quran. Anyway, I'm gonna keep moving. It's Abrahamic to circumcise. Yes, it is. Okay, so Brian has a legitimate question, which is about philosophical arguments for God, such as teleological or teleological arguments, ontological arguments, and cosmological arguments. What do you guys think about these?
Oh, sorry, I made the same mistake you made, but go on.
Oh my God, we're trigger happy. So yeah, what do you think about the philosophical arguments for God, like the teleological arguments and ontological and cosmological?
I mean, I wrote a book about all the arguments. Can I send you the book? Because that would be a whole different topic.
Read Armin Navabi's Why There Is No God. It's an answer to common arguments about the existence of God, and it includes all of these actually.
Yes.
So Brian, you should check that out.
Right. Because if we open that discussion, basically that would take the entire episode today, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah. Go on.
So genetically modified skeptic. This is a celebrity that we have. Welcome, genetically
celebrity
modified.
to me. I don't know if, but I'm a big fan. But
I've actually heard of you genetically.
He has 73,000 subscribers, so that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's. I know. I've actually heard of it.
Yeah.
Yes, people have sent me links and stuff. So
yeah.
He's saying he's saying I'd love to start a YouTube channel where videos from the top English-speaking atheist YouTubers are overdubbed in Arabic. What do you guys think? I think that's a great idea. I think you should totally do that. The only problem with this stuff that makes me a little nervous sometimes is if it's unofficial, then you don't know if you don't know Arabic, you don't know who the translator is and how well they did it. So the translator has to be reliable because, if someone records me saying something really insane that would bring all of the Arabs to come and kill me, then I don't know if that'd be a good thing. But yeah, so yeah, just regulation's good.
Wow, we got another super chat from can you Nusantra Rising. Thank you so much for the super chat. This is very generous today. Love your work, guys. What's your opinion on Shia Mahdi's view on grandson of Khomeini who thinks Sharia shouldn't be until Mahdi returns? Mamnoon. Actually, I have a lot of comments on this. We should do an entire episode on this, by the way. Well, this was Shia Islam before Khomeini. The Khomeinism and Velayat Faqih is a new branch of Shia Islam, which is basically went against this. This is why some people suggest that Shiism is secular, which is basically it's not really secular. It's basically says that Shias shouldn't be in power until Imam Mahdi comes, which was the understanding until Khomeini came and they took power, and now they brought the concept of Velayat Faqih, and it was an excuse for them to be in power. But the thing is that this is bullshit to suggest that other branches of Shia Islam are secular because they think religion shouldn't be mixed with government until Mahdi comes. Because every time Shia leaders want to be in power, they either say they're representative of Mahdi or they're Mahdi themselves. I mean, even if you go look at the history of Iran, the Safavids, the founder of the Safavide dynasty, was basically claiming the same thing. So all you have to do, we have to wait until Imam Mahdi comes for us to be in power. Okay, I guess I'm Mahdi then. That's all. That's all you have to do. But a really good book on that is Shia Rising. What is it called? This is one of my favorite books, actually. The Shia Rising. What was it? By Vali Nasr. Is that how it was? That the name of the title?
Oh, Vali Nasr. Yeah. I think that's what it's called. I haven't read it, but
no, the Shia Revival. Sorry, the Shia Revival. Yes, the Shia Revival by Vali Nasr. That's a really, really good book. It's so much fun. I don't know if it's going to be as much fun to you as it was for me, but it's a really cool book on Shia Islam and Iran and in Iran. It's pretty cool. But yeah, go on. Sorry. Next
okay,
question.
so Moose is asking, what is the difference between an Islamist and an Islamaphobe?
What? Wait.
Yeah, so an Islamist is basically somebody who wants to spread Islam and believes.
Wait, why would they be the same at all? Okay, so they are.
Well, I mean, this is somebody who's new. I mean, they're just asking for clarification.
Oh yeah, okay.
So Islamist, even though I'm not a huge fan of that word, but yeah, the common understanding of the word Islamist is somebody who wants to use to have religion, Islam, and politics be together.
Right.
And they want to use political means to spread Islam.
Right.
People who do it violently are jihadists. People who do it non-violently are sort of, they're stoics, or they're just Islamists that are not violent.
So and actually, the thing that these two words have in common, Islamophobe and Islamist, is both of them don't exist. But go on.
Yeah. Oh shit! I need a neck massage. Anyway, what is the difference? Okay, an Islamophobe is that's also a misnomer. So an Islamophobe is generally thought, yeah, exactly, just like you said, is thought to be somebody who is bigoted against Muslims, but that's actually not the case. Bigot against Muslims is an anti-Muslim bigot. That's what they are.
Right.
An Islamophobe, the reason it's a bad word is because it conflates the criticism of Islam, which is an idea, with bigotry against Muslims who are people. So an example is, we don't call it Judaismophobia, because we can criticize Judaism all we want. We call it anti-Semitism, which is a people-based term. So Islamophobe is it really shouldn't be a term.
It shouldn't be a term. Anti-Muslim bigotry is the better term to use. And with regards to Islamism is basically Islam. Okay, here's the problem with the name Islamism. Okay, Islamism suggests it's a branch of Islam that wants Islam to be involved in politics, right? The problem with that is that Islam, by its very nature,
is political.
So Islamism and Islam are the same thing.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So here we go. Billy B is saying, "Mother, father, doctor, I want my foreskin back." Hey, there are websites online for regeneration of foreskin. This is a super chat question, by the way. So thank you, Billy, again. Yeah.
Wait, is there really?
They're called. You can regenerate. I think that what they do is they pull the rest of the parts around the head, and then they tape it, and it takes a little while, and you can actually grow your foreskin back. Unfortunately, it's not going to have the same kind of nerve endings. The foreskin actually has.
The whole point the nerve endings, not the look.
You still have nerve endings, but the foreskin actually has unique nerve endings that don't exist in the rest of the penis.
What was lost was not come back.
Yeah, so that part's not going to come back, but you can technically grow it back. Harris is saying, Ali Rizvi, when are you getting that guy from Yaqeen Institute in your show? I've reached out to a bunch of people. I'm trying to get him back. The Yaqeen Institute. Well, we already had Asadullah.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy that we talked about? There are a couple of guys. There's another guy named Fahim F who I reached out to, and he hasn't responded, even though he challenged me. He's like, "Oh yeah, if you're willing to debate me, I'd do it anytime online."
Ali,
and then,
on, sorry.
No, I was just saying that this guy, he kind of online, I had written something, and he's like, "If you want to, we can discuss this, and I'll challenge you to a debate at any time." And then so I was like, hey, I'd love to have you on our podcast, the Secular Jihadists. Yeah, come on, let's debate online. He's like, oh, I will definitely email you. And I never heard from him after that. And I've pinged him a couple of times.
You know what I think you should do? Go to, you know how the Houston ISNA conference that we just had? Mm-hmm. Go to their website, go to their speaker section of their website, and invite every single speaker there to our podcast.
We could do that. There is a thing on Facebook called the Islamic Discourse Initiative. And I don't know if Hamza Sordis is directly involved with it, but he seems to be very admired by them. So there are a lot of people there who are willing to debate. So
nice. Okay,
I am reaching out to them, and I'm also reaching out to Hamza Sordis. So
by the way, Ali is the person that goes after guests and brings on the guests. So he's responsible for bringing us Sam Harris. Thank you, Ali.
Oh, you're welcome. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday.
Yes.
Right, 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Do I need to prepare for that? No, right? Like just wing it. We don't need to.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Let's have that conversation right now in front of everybody.
Okay.
What's your input, everyone? Yeah. Okay. So Matt is saying, I'm from Saudi Arabia. It's Shia with the 2 dots in Arabic, on which the 2 dots is silent. So you were right.
Right.
I was wrong.
No. But the interesting thing is that the reason why there's also Shia is because in Persian, there is no such a thing with hair with 2 dots, right? Mm-hmm. So anything from Arabic that comes with the hair with 2 dots that comes from Arabic to Persian turns from the t sound to the he sound because we don't have that. So that's how Shiat turns to Shia.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
A Shia with the 2 dots on Arabic, on which the 2 dots are silent. So even so what happens is sorry, he was saying that you were wrong.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, but I know that when we say in English, the Shiite is for an individual in general. But
you're saying I'm wrong. So the 2 dots are silent.
Yeah, the 2 dots are silent in Arabic. But as you're saying, when you take that same writing and you have it in Persian script and Urdu script that are also Arabic derived, they actually say those 2 dots. So that's how, just sort of linguistic evolution wise, they just sort of morphed into, people started saying Shiat a lot more in Farsi and Urdu and some of these other languages because they have the same script and the 2 dots are not silent in them. So that's how I think it ended up becoming part of the parlance. Mickey is saying, from your perspective, do you see any challenges that face Europe as a result of the EU's loose open borders policy, and do you see Islamization as a threat to the West, in particular for atheists? I think Islamization is a threat to everybody, and atheists all over the world, and Muslims all over the world, and Christians all over, for everybody. It's the reason that it is not just
to Muslims themselves.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just because of terrorism or jihad. I think those things are, we've improved on that a lot, in the sense that, we had 9/11, you had skyscrapers that brought, the planes that brought down skyscrapers. Now we've got, even though it's pretty bad still, but, you have people driving cars into crowds, and it's very, very different. But I think the bigger threat to it is that the Islamic world has not separated religion and state. Secularism hasn't taken hold. Even the most sort of secular Muslim majority countries still have some element
and they're going
of
backwards
religion. Yeah, either like Turkey or like Malaysia, Indonesia. Even these, you're still seeing that. So this is why it's a threat. That faith is still thought to be a huge virtue that deserves deserves a place within the political establishment. And that's why I think it's a threat around the world, and that is directly related to the threat that it poses to the West as well.
But I think I try to get this whole idea of Islam versus the West. I don't like that. I think it's basically Islam versus our planet, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is a global battle. Islam is not coming for the West. Islam is going for everybody, okay? And I think a lot of people that are in Western countries and are worried that Islam is coming for them, I think that they should be more worried that Islam exists at all, anywhere, right? And I think that instead of playing the defense game, they're like, hey, keep your shit over there. Don't bring it over here. This is my country. Don't bring it here. I kind of want to play the offense game. I want to go there and be like, just get your shit together. This is barbaric, ancient dogma. We need to. Basically, what I'm saying is that what I'm saying is that we are fighting for the day that we could, raise the rainbow flag at Kaaba. Okay? That's our goal. Okay? Don't be like, as long as it's not hurting me, I don't give a shit. No, this is hurting people, so we give a shit, even if it's not here close to us, right? And if you're playing the defense game, you're gonna lose at some point. It's gonna come for you as well. It's kind of like you're in your own hut, and the whole forest is burning around you. Like, well, my hut is not burning yet, so I don't need to worry about it. Instead of getting out there and trying to put out the fire, right? If it keeps getting more powerful where it is, eventually it will come for you as well. And then when I say come for you, I'm not talking about suicide bombs and stuff like that. These ideas, ideas don't travel through people, don't travel by people traveling, okay? Ideas go through internet, go through minds, go through books. And this is an idea that we're fighting. And, geography is not the barrier here. People's minds are this is traveling through people's minds wherever they are. And, if you want to play the offensive game, you have to go to the source instead of just thinking that as long as you have build a big wall or have a very strict border policies, it doesn't matter. If you let these ideas grow, it's going to consume the planet.
Yeah. And I can't stress this enough, but watch that video of ISIS members burning their European passports. These are just people who came from one country to another because there were open borders. There were people who were there from Belgium. There were people there from the UK, from France, from all of these individual countries who had passports of these countries because they were born and raised there. Many of them, their parents were upset because their parents weren't super religious and they were disappointed in their kids becoming jihadists. But they had all watched online videos. They'd watched Anwar al-Awlaki. They were inspired by Al-Qaeda, by Bin Laden, by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And they were watching this stuff online. So, you can build all the... Of course, you have to have common sense border laws. Of course you do. You have to have common sense immigration laws. You have to be smart about it. But, the thing is, most of these countries already are. But you're not going to... You can build all the walls and have all the bans that you want. You're not going to stop the ideas from coming through. In fact, the more you ban things, the more these ideas become like a thing of, oh, this is freedom. They're trying to push us down. They don't want you to know the truth. And this happens. It's always counterproductive. I don't think it works very well. But anyway, let's move on. Ooh, Kashan is asking, Ali, are you related to Ali Noor, the Pakistani singer? So, yeah.
Yeah. Your face, that was funny. Okay,
huh?
Go. Your reaction was funny.
Yeah, no, I read it before So, yeah, no, I'm going to... Yeah, I'm related to Ali Noor. I think I'm a huge fan of his, too. Yeah. Right. So I'll just keep it to that. We don't agree on everything, so please don't start thinking that, he thinks everything that I do, and we are, we disagree on things, but we get along very well.
He was joking with this question. It wasn't a serious question.
No, but it is a serious question because I'm related to him.
Oh, so, wait, is it? Okay.
Yeah, we go up to it. So Ali Noor is like a huge. You guys should check him out. It's really funny because he looks like Jesus. He's got the beard and everything, and he actually really, really looks like him. And he's one of the most famous singers in South Asia. So, okay. Yeah, and he's great. He's very talented. He's a cool guy, and yeah, I've known him all my life. Okay. I hope that doesn't put him in whatever, but he knows everybody, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Jim is saying, how big an audience do you have in Pakistan? What percentage of the population do you think speak English? About half.
Half? Really? That's big.
No, not half.
That's
so Pakistan.
No. I think it's actually less than 10%, right?
It might be. So the thing is, it's definitely more than 10%. The reason for that is
no, because a lot of people. I assume that as well, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people in Pakistan or India that speak English and are upper or middle class, they don't hang out with most of the country, which live in the, they just live in their own social bubble, and they think that the demographic of the country represents the people that they hang out with. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's true. And but there's also another aspect. It's kind of complicated with Pakistan. So Pakistan has 2 official languages, English and Urdu. So if you're doing any kind of government job, you have to know English. You actually don't have to know Urdu. You can actually get away with doing a government job your whole life without knowing any Urdu. Right. So a huge percentage of Pakistan does know. Yeah. So that's one reason that the government civil service requires English knowledge, because all the documentation is in it. The second thing is that in a lot of these right to left script countries, and this is fascinating, especially in Pakistan with Urdu, when it comes to postgraduate education and specialized subjects like medicine, for instance, they don't have the language for it. Like, they don't have a language for the quadriceps muscle. They don't have a language for they don't have a word for or terms for diseases like.
So they have to use English.
Whatever. Yeah, so the technical jargon for all of these advanced sort of technologies, whether it's in engineering or accounting, or it has to be in English, because they haven't developed terms for them like a lot of European languages have. Okay. So people have to get English education post-secondarily there. So a huge population the percent of the population does know English. Yeah. Next question from Islam. Islam, Zionism, Reg Left, Alt Right. Okay, complicated name. Silly question. Should female dogs, i.e. bitches, wear a burqa in an Islamic state? If so, why? If not, why? Okay, so that clearly is a silly question. I'll leave it there. Mubin, thanks for it, though. Mubin, yeah, we always get this. Yeah, it's fun having this kind of audience. Mubin Ahmed, hey, Armin Ali, have you guys decided who'd be joining the podcast for the Big Bang episode? Can Sean Carroll be approached? He's been appearing on other people's podcasts. He's a great physicist. Yeah, I saw that suggestion. I've noted the suggestions. I would like to do it. We do want to do an episode on the Big Bang, specifically on what happened before the Big Bang.
Really? We want to do that?
Yeah, we do. Okay. I want to do that, and I know Armin, you do. You will. I'll convince you.
This is a science podcast all of a sudden?
Hey, listen, it's not science. It's the beginning of the universe. It's everything. This is before science.
Okay.
So, I had actually written.
Okay, can we ask our patrons first if that's a good idea?
Okay. I already did. So here's the thing, and this is the background for this. So Armin, I'll explain this to you too. I'd written my book to the one thing that totally one of the not horses. What was the thing that broke the camel? The straw that broke the camel's back. Is I don't know. I'm thinking of horses. Is that when I left religion was finding out that when people asked what happened before the Big Bang, there was no such thing as before, because this was the beginning of time too. So time didn't exist, and before it didn't exist. This is obviously just one of many theories, but it still blew my mind.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Yeah. Hold on. So I asked about whether we can have somebody, a physicist, preferably someone who is from the Muslim background, like Jim Al-Khalili, on to talk about questions like this, what happened before the Big Bang. And someone suggested Sean Carroll, and I think that would be a really good idea. And I've made a list of people that I want to contact. If you know anybody else, send them my way. Hasnan is asking, looking for book references that are written from purely academic research perspective, not biased by faith or lack thereof, regarding Islamic history during its emergence until Ashura. So we kind of briefly touched on this.
Yeah, we touched on this on the Abdullah episode, right? Do you want to just quickly mention their names again? You recommended a book to me too as well, which I added to my list.
You had talked about, which is a book that you recommended?
No, you recommended a book to me just recently.
Oh, I recommended Tom Holland's In the Shadow of the Sword.
Okay, yeah.
Right, and the reason I recommended that is because it doesn't just look at his Islamic history. It looks at the rise of Islam from the academic perspective in terms of what scholars who are outside of the Muslim world, who are non-believers necessarily, they're looking at more objectively. And it also puts it in the historical context of the fall of the Roman Empire and the Persian Empire. And also interesting things that happened around that time, like the spread of the bubonic plague and how that made a lot of the people and a lot of the nations and a lot of the empires very vulnerable, and how that may have helped enable the rise of Islam at the time as well. So I thought it was a fascinating book. I thought it was excellent. So I think that I would recommend that. In the Shadow of the Sword by Tom Holland. And then Armin had some suggestions as well.
I had some suggestions, but none of them meet the criteria that he's asking for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
okay.
I'm actually adding that because there is. You could go directly to the source, and most of the academic ones are a little bit too dry,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You think that this Tom Holland one was good?
Yeah, I actually thought it was. The reason that I also liked it is because it's a popular read, so it's something that everybody can get into. Yet at the same time, it's very, very detailed, and he has collected the scholarship from a variety of different Islamic scholars. People like Fred Donner and people like Patricia Crone.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, let me find the book that I liked. I keep forgetting their titles, but this is basically based on the earlier sources, right? So Mohammeds' life based on the earliest sources. Who wrote that? This was a fun read for me. So yeah, Muhammad, his life based on the earlier sources by Martin Ling. That was a fun read for me. Even though I knew most of the stories, there were still some surprises there that I didn't know, and it was very interesting. So you know how they say go read the sources directly? This is basically, this guy puts in his book in a much more fun and organized way, to instead of just having to jump from one book to another book and to be able to piece things together. It's all here, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all here, and it's fun, and it's written in a much more pleasant way to read, and it's true to the sources, right?
Yeah.
So this is read this.
And one other thing I would say, this is a little nerdy in terms of reading encyclopedias, but the Encyclopedia of Islam from Brill, Brill's Encyclopedia of Islam, and that has actually all of the scholars out there have contributed to it. It's huge, it's massive. You can look up any subject from music to muta, right? Essentially, and it'll give you all of the scholarship from all of the different sects and all of the history. And it's actually it's also very objective. I use that a lot when I wrote my book. But that's more of a reference book in case you want to refer to anything. It's not necessarily an easy read from beginning to end or anything like that. Genetically Modified Skeptic is saying, thank you, Armin. That means a lot coming from you. So I guess he appreciates it. William is saying, I understand the skepticism, but what about hope and purpose and things that are subjective and not dictated by science?
They are, science doesn't dictate things, science explains things.
It's a process.
No, so yeah, natural laws dictate things. Science is an explanation of those natural things that happen. It doesn't tell nature what to do. It's the best way to observe what nature does. And all those things that you listed are also part of nature, and observable. The best way to explain them is science.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you think science, if you think hope, what else was in their list?
Hope and purpose and things that are subjective.
Okay. Well, it's just, subjective, what does that mean? Subjective, it means that they are dependent on the human mind. Well, what is the human mind? The human mind is dependent on your brain, which is a biological organ that with a lot of chemical reactions. It's all based on nature, right? And the best way to understand all of those things, the best way to study all of those things is through the scientific process. And if you think that's not the best way to understand them, give me an alternative that gives us better answers.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, the only thing that'll give you actual reality-based objective answers to questions is science. The other philosophy is great for questioning things. It's a great way to question. Hypothesis generation in science is actually derived from philosophy. A lot of, for the science, a lot of it came out of philosophy. But if you actually want answers to something, there's nothing else apart from science that will give you concrete answers to questions that can be answered. And even something like purpose,
that we know of, at least.
Yeah, even if you take something like purpose, and sure, you're saying that it's subjective, but if you look at how we evolved to think of purpose, we evolved initially, like a lot of other organisms have, just short-term memory. We evolved to have long-term memory. When we had long-term memory, we could set long-term goals. When we were able to set long-term goals, because of our evolution to have long-term memory, when you can set long-term goals, then the whole idea of purpose comes into view. Right, so it becomes a thing. So that's also something that evolved. So when we talk about purpose and meaning of life, the only reason we can do that is because we have long-term memories and we're able to have long-term goals. So even that, when you look at it from a scientific and evolutionary perspective, these are just theories, but it makes it more interesting when you think about purpose itself. And the same thing goes for all of these other things that you're talking about. So it's always good to look at things from a scientific lens and through other angles. Matt is saying, what's up, everybody, from Saudi Arabia, Makkah here. He was from Makkah. Considered to be one of the Shurafa, direct bloodline to Hassan ibn Ali bin Abi Talib, currently living in the Philippines. And you're in our audience. That's great. Yay. We've got a descendant of Imam Hassan here, who's checking out secular jihadists. There you go.
Thank you.
We've done our job. Thank you. Good to have you here, Matt.
Next.
So Theo Mackey saying, Armin, will Ali be you when you have kids?
Yes, that's why you don't have kids.
Will Ali be... Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right. I mean,
it's just negative reinforcement.
Well, okay, if you ever see me with kids, it's because I was forced into that position by my wife, okay? And I'm not happy with having kids, okay? And if I tell you at that point that, oh no, I'm changed my mind and I'm really happy now and this is great, don't believe me, okay?
Oh my God! So it's not just Armin that will be Ali, but Ali was Armin until about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
I honestly want to adopt instead of having,
kids.
I think adopting is
also having kids. It's not. No, he's talking about having kids. He's not specifying adopting or biological.
Yeah, but if I have to, I rather adopt. Okay, because why? You don't. Okay, having kids is a major investment. Okay, time commitment, everything, right? And I don't know what's gonna. You don't gamble something like that. First of all, if you adopt a kid, you're basically helping a kid that doesn't have parents now as a home and have parents. That's great, right? So instead of just, and also, if you're spending so much on something, you kind of want to see what you're getting before you get it. I think, right? So I don't want to just it's not. It's kind of like a major gamble, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, I don't see that much significance in my DNA. Like, I don't understand why it would not be my kid if it's not my DNA. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing magical, I don't think, about my DNA that makes something more special. So I don't understand, like, people like, well, but it's not going to be, if you adopt, it's not your kid, though. You always know it's not your kid. Like, it's just a fucking chemical reaction. It doesn't matter if my DNA it doesn't matter if my DNA is involved or not.
There's no difference, man. I mean, if someone told me right now, if I found out right now that my daughter was not my daughter, I couldn't care less.
Right.
I'd still be as
right.
devoted to her as I am.
If I find out that my brother was adopted, am I going to stop calling him my brother? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was childless for a very long time. I had 40 very, very good years, and it was a lot of fun. I never wanted to have kids. I thought if I didn't want to, I was impartial to it eventually later on. I thought, okay, if I have it, I'll be okay. If I don't have it, I'll still have a good life. It was okay. But, so at this point, having a kid, it's been the best thing in my life. If I'd done it before, when I was younger, like in my 30s or 20, I might have felt like I was missing something, and I might have been more frustrated with it. But as somebody who didn't really want to have kids, I think that having my first kid in my 40s, I am really able to enjoy it because I'm not worried about being financially settled, going through degrees, or saving for a house. I like those are not things that figure prominently. So I can really focus on my daughter and have fun with it.
Both me and my wife, when we were born, we both damaged our mom permanently on the way out. So my mom suffered all her life because of me, and my wife's mom also suffered all her life because of her. So we're like,
it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying. Anyways, let's go to the next question.
So specialist generalist is pointing out on national identity, listen to Sam Harris's latest podcast with Yuval Noah Harari towards the end. People who've listened to this know I'm a massive fan of Yuval Noah Harari.
What does he say in the podcast, Kent?
I don't know. I haven't listened to it, but let's not get into that now because I want to hear it. And I kind of have, I do quote him a lot on that.
We're getting
the fly buzzing in the air thing.
But by Nusantara Rising.
Are the Taliban more Pashtunwali Nazis than Islamists?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know.
But I don't want to let this. It's a super chat though, so we have to answer. You have no choice.
Yeah, I don't know about the. I can't think of. Again, we were talking about that historically. Everything is really complicated. To some extent, there is a good reason to compare things against the Nazis because that is Nazis are a great sort of quintessential historical example of what can happen when you can have massive populations of completely normal people who adopt a really twisted.
I think I don't understand the question exactly.
Yeah, no, he's talking about the Taliban. Are they more nationalistic Pashtun or like the sort of the national the tribe there?
Oh, I get it.
Are they more the Nazi style like nationalists or
ethno kind of? Yeah, I get it.
Or are they Islamist? I don't know. I think the Taliban are
more Islamist. I'm gonna go with more Islamist. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are a lot of Pashtun nationalists.
Because they welcomed Al Qaeda in their country. So if they were that much nationalistic, they would be like, no,
Yeah, and it's also complicated because there's the Afghan Taliban, there's the Pakistani Taliban, and right. They're both like ethnically very similar, and they have some overlap with the Pakistan. Some allow more foreign. I don't know. It's complicated. There's a guy Ahmed Rashid, who wrote about the Taliban. He explains this stuff very well. So just check him out.
I can tell you based on my experience with Iran, the things can change over a couple of years. Like for example, when the Islamic Revolution happened in Iran, originally they were like, fuck Iran, it's just Islam. This is Islam. It's not like Khomeini hated nationalism, right? Khomeini hated this has nothing to do with Iran. This is an Islamic revolution, and the borders of Iran is not going to limit this revolution, right? But when the Iran-Iraq war started very shortly after, they realized that they need some nationalism to be able to get people to defend the borders, right? So very quickly, a lot of nationalism got mixed with and Iranians are so proud of their nationalism, many of them, that this is Khomeini's view of Islam above Iran would have never been sold. It would have never become that popular, right? So they really understood that this is a nationalism in Iran is a force that they can't reckon with, right? Mm-hmm. So within very short amount of time, nationalism really got mixed with Khomeini's revolution, even though he wasn't happy about that. So even I don't know how to answer your question regarding Taliban, but I just know that these things, based on the location in Pakistan, Afghanistan, it could be different now from 5 years ago, so depends, and very much depends.
So anyway, so let's go. We have, I want to end this around 11:45.
Okay, go fast.
Might go over. So we're going to start doing the quick ones. Matt is saying, secular jihadists, what are your thoughts on the non-binary fluid gender movement? Should I start, Armin? You have something to say?
Yeah, you're the doctor.
I honestly, I don't really care about it that much. I think that if there are people who want to, whatever they want to identify it, they're fine. The sex is biological, right? You're born with an XY karyotype, XX. Gender, I think there's a whole bunch of things that can influence it. Your biological sex can influence your gender. Your environment can influence your gender, the way that you've been socialized, how you're raised, what culture you're in, whether you're from a tribe in Papua New Guinea, whether you're from a matriarchal tribe, whether you're
but is it binary?
Is it? No, I don't think it's binary. I don't think it's binary at all. I mean, I've met enough.
So you're saying sex is binary, but gender is not binary?
I think sex is there's XX, XY, and there's a whole bunch of other karyotypes. There's intersex, so but it's limited. It's a lot more limited. But it's mostly binary. Gender, I don't think it is. I think the gender is really, really malleable. And
really, isn't it mostly binary though?
Well, the norm is most people identify as either male or female.
No, or but the fact that even that you have in betweens, you're basically in between two different binary points. Like
that's a spectrum.
Yeah, but
binary means
I know, but I mean just saying I think you have I don't know. It's not like I don't know.
So if you're talking about the 72 genders and free spirit is a gender and vegan is a gender, I think that's bullshit. There's no scientific basis to that.
All right, so it's a okay, even if it's a spectrum between 2 points, not between 8 points. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
So the fact that it's a spectrum between 2 points, kind of, it has some binary element into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, but when they talk about binary versus spectrum, is binaries, there's 0 and 1, right? Like binary code. Right, yeah. There's 1 is 1 and the other is the other, and that's it. There's nothing else. A spectrum is the opposite of binary. Everybody agrees that there's two main norms.
So when you say it's a spectrum, does that mean what does that mean? Does that mean are you talking about? I don't understand. Because why?
I mean that people can be I was when I was younger, there are gender roles, certain gender roles. Like when I was younger, when I grew up, everybody in my class was really good at sports. All the other guys were really good at sports.
But just because gender roles are bullshit, well, no, they're not 100% bullshit. Actually, there are some gender roles shouldn't be enforced or shouldn't be. It shouldn't be demonized for you to step out of gender roles. That doesn't mean that
at all. Yeah. But also it also goes beyond that.
That doesn't mean that we have more than 2 genders, does it?
No, but there is also the fact, for instance, transgenderism, right? The idea that there are people from a very, very young age.
Transgender means you jump from one gender to another, so that still keeps it binary.
Transgender basically means that you have an X, for example, you have an XY karyotype, but you have always felt female your whole life. Right?
Yeah, but it's still binary because you jump from one gender to another.
Yeah, it's gender. That's the interesting thing that when you have the feminism of the 1970s that were talking about how gender can be anything. They were saying there's no such thing as gender. The gender is completely socialized. It's not a real thing. And then you had the trans movement that kind of proved that yes. Because you had what's now called gender dysphoria, what used to be called gender identity disorder.
I know a lot of trans people are upset about this gender being all of a sudden non-binary because they say that they spent a lot of their activism
moving from one to the other,
moving from one gender to another, and now all of a sudden you're taking this whole concept of gender away. They're like, I fought all my life to be able to. I was a woman. Now I want to be recognized as a man. I fought all my life to be able to. Normalize being a man, and now you're all of a sudden saying there's no such a thing as a man.
No, if you're saying that there's no such thing as gender, that is bullshit. That's very different from saying gender exists on a spectrum, right? So gender existing on a spectrum and people being able to identify whatever the way they want to. Like some people may be identifying 50% man, 50% whatever it is. The point is, I don't really care.
Okay,
it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, the point is that our opinions don't really matter, right? Because this is
no, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and
no,
the other thing
this is either true or it's not true, right? And whether it is true or not, it doesn't matter if we sit down and think about it and be like, well, my opinion is this. Well, the thing is that, like, this is science, right? Again, if either one side is right, one side is wrong, one side is, kind of right. But the thing is that us just thinking about it doesn't really have any influence on what the reality is.
So, so the idea of the gender fluidity is scientifically sound.
Okay.
Like that is something that is known. But there's a lot of other things that science doesn't know. Right, and honestly, it doesn't. As far as the whole pronoun thing goes, he, she, and they. You could just call people who don't want to identify as he or she, they. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take that much effort. Like initially, in the Bible, when they used to use thou and you for separate things, thou was for the individual, you was for a group of people.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
when that's you say we have to answer quick. So let's.
Oh, okay. Let's go. All right, so I would love for Harris to come on the show. Dylan is saying, Sam Harris is on the show on Wednesday.
Right,
so
you're so
be
far
sure.
behind. We have to go fast.
Less than 48 hours, yeah. Imam Ali Rizvi alayhi salam. Oh, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Okay. How do you, Shiraz is saying, how do you talk to a Muslim who tried to win an argument by denying he believes certain concepts in Islam, but indirectly keeps debating that position?
What?
I don't understand the question.
Say it again.
How do you talk to a Muslim who tries to win an argument by denying he believes certain concepts in Islam, but indirectly keeps debating that position? Oh, so they're denying that. They're like, oh, I don't believe in this stuff. I don't believe in this, but they're defending it anyway.
So point out the hypocrisy to them.
That's point it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Okay. So.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to go to people who haven't asked questions yet. So
we got another super chat from Nusantara.
I gotta be selective.
Nusantara Rising say thoughts on Indonesia election.
Because I don't know, Armin. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I know that there was like the guy that was supposed to, the guy that founded everything is now back in power, even though he's like really, really old, and he's like coming and changing everything. He's anti-corruption. It was a very surprise win. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Some people that were supposed to be in jail are now being freed, and are supposed to now help this new guy. And he said this is temporary. He's just going to fix everything back to normal. So basically, there was a lot of human rights violations, and he's going to come and make everything more free again, even though he himself originally. Anyways, it's complicated. Do we? But okay, yeah. So everything is changing in Indonesia. Wait, am I getting my countries mixed up with Malaysia? Yeah, I think I got it mixed up with Malaysia.
Oh my God, Armin,
this was everything I just said was about Malaysia.
Nationality exists on a spectrum.
No, this was
nationally fluid.
This was all Malaysia.
Anyway, he's also asking the best city of Pakistan, and I would say, oh man, I'm tied between Karachi and Lahore. I know there's a lot of rivalry, but I am anyway.
Let me see.
So Beej is asking, what happened with Yasmin's book? It was supposed to be out at the end of 2017. I really hope it comes out. I've read a lot of it, and I'm waiting for it as much as you are. So.
Okay, election in Indonesia is in 2019. So we should cover these things. We should really cover Malaysia and Indonesia more. We don't cover these.
Let's get a guest. We should get a guest who's from that part of the world.
Yeah, because this is we cover the Middle East and the surrounding countries a lot more and know a lot less about Indonesia and Malaysia, even though they're most populated Muslim countries.
Yeah,
the world is Indonesia, so we need to get our shit together.
Send us guest suggestions who you want on from Indonesia and Malaysia who would be able to have a conversation. We'd love to learn more about it because you're right. I don't know that much about it either. Right. And Indonesia is the largest Islamic country.
And Malaysia too. Malaysia just recently had an election, and we didn't talk about it at all. So we need to bring in guests and talk about those things.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I'm gonna again go to people who have not asked questions yet. Okay, we got Beach. We got I think. Oh, James, how's it going? Hindsight is always 2020, sometimes 2015. I love that. I love it. That's great. Yeah, sometimes hindsight can even be clearer than 2020. Okay, so speaking. Oh wait, hold on. Cowboy is saying, "Who do you think is the most peaceful or civilized Muslim country?"
Tunisia.
I have
Tunisia.
Huh?
Tunisia.
You think Tunisia? Okay, so I would say Tunisia. I'd also say, in terms of the people, just the people that I know from there, Lebanon, and to some extent
peaceful.
Jordan.
He said peaceful.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just talking about. No, he also said civilized.
No, he wasn't talking about people. He was talking about country, the whole country, right?
Yeah, the whole country.
So Lebanon is a very bad example.
No, but the people. I think the people are more civilized there. It's very sort of multi-religious, and everybody kind of gets along very, very well.
No, it doesn't. What are you talking about?
Well, we're not talking about the Hezbollah and everything.
Yes,
yeah, I know, but just
Tunisia,
overall,
my answer.
If you go to Lebanon, like you can just kind of hang out and chill, and you can read atheist books. It depends on where you are, of course. Right. I don't know what it's like in Hezbollah territory, but
okay, but then you can read your atheist book until before the next civil war starts.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, you're right. Okay. Anyway. And I was also going to say Jordan, but who knows?
No, Tunisia.
Yeah, Tunisia is definitely at the top. Yeah. And I've been there. I went to Tunis. That was really cool. Specialist. I thought the national. Okay, hold on. Specialist. That's a comment. Sorry, guys. We're just gonna go to the questions. Ali's neck is still bad from when he was sick. No, it's actually just bad in general nowadays. Lack of sleep. So I'm trying to get better.
And having babies. That's what you get for having babies.
No, it was bad from. This was actually pathology.
Okay. Next question. Next question.
Having babies. He wants to blame everything on my kid. Kid.
No.
Yeah. It's the only thing I like better than this podcast. Is my.
Aw, that's sweet.
Okay. So, okay. So again, I'm trying to. So Hussein is asking, do you think it's possible to reconcile between different religions? Personally, I don't think so. Especially if each religion scripture explains, claims
you
it's
can
God.
Reconcile between them by abandoning them together. All of them.
Yeah. Well, one thing that was amazing is that.
Why would you want to reconcile between bullshit? I don't think it's worth any time and resources to reconcile at all.
So I'm saying anytime you hear of an interfaith panel where they have people from different religions coming, make sure that you ask them to get an atheist on there too. Just make sure they have that, because that's part of the whole interfaith I was going to say spectrum. But
winning, getting people from different, getting people to agree with each other on their bullshit is not an achievement.
Yeah, it isn't. All right, so again, a lot of these. Beej wants to massage my neck. Please do. I didn't need it. I am actually getting like my wife has figured out something. I'm not very touchy feely. I don't love getting massages. But she has actually found something. She's convinced me, so I am going to get a massage, guys. Do you think there are any current peaceful Muslim nations? Again, I think Tunisia would be at the top of the list. Apart from that,
no, peaceful. If you say most peaceful, I would say Tunisia. But just peaceful right now, as we speak, there are a lot of them. As we speak,
yeah, there are many of them.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no wars right now in Indonesia, in Bangladesh, in Jordan, and what else?
I've never seen these guys are so concerned about my neck. It's so sweet.
Wait, what else is peaceful? I'm running out of countries that are peaceful and Islamic right now. I mean, I would say Iran hasn't had a war for a while, but just 2 days ago there was an attack on the military. Did you see that?
Yeah, so I was just saying. So they asked who's the peaceful country. You just mentioned Iran. It's kind of interesting. A lot of people wouldn't say that, but this is what I mean. I think.
No, but if you look at Iran has caused a lot of shit outside of its borders, but within its borders, it has been pretty secure for a very long time.
Oh, it's like Russia too, right?
Right.
I mean,
until quite recently.
Yeah.
But go on.
So Moose is saying, I'm so glad I found Armin and Ali's podcast. I know I've never been Muslim, but it helps to find like-minded people who are so very kind. Thank you for accepting me into your community. Thank you so much, Moose.
I think that's very sweet.
It's very nice. So moving on.
I'm still waiting for you to get to the part that where Christy says she read my book. But go on, it's fine.
I will. I'll get to it all. Don't worry. I'll make sure I get to it. A. Aziz is saying the Shia revival, how conflicts within Islam will shape the future by Vali Nasser. Yeah, so that's the title of the book. Really good, so Shiraz is saying, according to Islam, do children go to heaven? Also Muslim children versus non-Muslim children?
Yes, that's why I jumped out of the window. But
yeah,
if you're a kid, then you can't sin, right? So
there's a video for more about what Armin's talking about. Shiraz, I think you should watch this. There's a video called "The Poison Pill of Islam" that Seth Andrews made of Armin Navabi, where he tells his whole story, and you should really watch that. It's absolutely riveting and chilling. So that'll help you answer your question as well. Christy Santiago is saying, I loathe Islam, I love Muslims. I love a lot of Muslims.
Don't love all of them, but yes, yeah. But that's the sweet thing.
Just like any other group, there's people you like them, and there's other people you don't like. But yeah, just overall, Muslims as people
try to love people.
Yeah, they're a group
give them a chance, but don't. But the thing is that there is no group of people that we can unconditionally love, right? Like obviously any large enough group of people are gonna have a lot of shitty people in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I understand the sentiment, and it's kind of like the Christian when the Christians say, "Love the sinner, hate the sin," kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just they're like any other group.
So here, let me just tell you. For example, when people come to me and say like, "Hey, where are you from originally?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Iran." And like, "Oh, I love Iranian people." And I was like, "Are you sure about that?" Like, do you love all of them?
How can you?
How could you?
Can't love
because there's a couple I can think of right now that
they're probably going by stereotypes. You know how people say, "Oh, we love Americans."
By the way, not to put Christy at the spot because she's very sweet. I don't want her to feel But go on.
But yeah, Islam, Zionism, reg left, alt right, and geopolitics. IZRAG is saying. I can't believe I said that. Jay Smith has claimed there are 26 Quran versions. The top copy, I guess that would be Turkish somewhere. Cairo, Samarkand versions.
Some Muslims. We had an episode on this. Oh,
yeah, so he's saying, what's your take on Quran versions? And Jay Smith, so Jay Smith, I think, is the Christian guy who has also kind of talks a lot about the origins of Islam. I don't really know about him. I haven't really listened to him much, but we did have a whole episode on this with Abdullah Gad, and we have discussed the history of the Quran. We've talked about the Dan Gibson documentary. We've had several conversations about this in the last few episodes. So, and we will have several more. So, do check that out whenever we get the chance. But I don't think that the current Quran is the only version that there has ever existed in history. I think there are many other ones. Memory TV is a good comedy channel. It is great. It is I watch it all the time. I think they do really good work. Okay, let's see. Another book Aziz is mentioning is Messaging Circumstances and Economic Pressures as Influences on Linkage to Medical Male Circumcision Following Community-Based HIV Testing for Men in Rural Southwest Uganda. Quality. Oh no, that's one of the African HIV studies. I know it's on HuffPost, but guys, Google Ali Rizvi HIV myth circumcision and read the article. I know it's on HuffPost, but I wrote it, and it's a good article. You guys should check it out. Okay, so sorry, just getting through it. Moving on, I think we're almost done. Okay, Mickey is saying, do you think Samuel P. Huntington's Clash of Civilizations is similar to the threat posed by communism during the Cold War? Also, can you share your thoughts on Tariq Fatah? Okay, so Clash of Civilizations. That's a long conversation. Is it similar to the threat posed by? I know. I think it's a different threat. There's similarities in it, and there are some very, very significant differences in it. It's not just like. I think there's more of a tribal element as well as an ideological element. The Clash of Civilizations with Samuel P. Huntington. I think communism was really more ideological and less tribal. It wasn't really anchored to any kind of, sort of national, but religious identity or any kind of sort of tribal thing as much as the Clash of Civilizations. But again, that's a much more complicated topic that I can't get into right now. Thoughts on Tariq Fatah? I've written about him before, so please feel free to Google and ask about it. I've known Tariq for.
You two don't get along, do you?
It goes back and forth. He's a little moody. So there's a time when I think I've known him for more than 10 years now. So I was on very good terms with him. I liked him a lot, and he said back in 2008 or something, and there was a lot of mutual admiration. But then sometimes when he disagrees with you, every time he's disagreed with me and gotten mad at me, he's accused me of being a defender of jihadis. At one point, he even called me a jihadi. And then he goes back and forth, and then he's fine. He's a little volatile.
I had an interview with him on Atheist Republic. So just search for Tariq Fatah and Armin Navabi. That should show up.
Yeah, he went on Ina's podcast, Ina Nice Mangoes, anyway, that's a whole different story. And then he accused her of being my wife. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
He thought that she was my secret wife. So,
okay. All right.
I'm just saying, it's out there. You should check it out.
Okay. Go on.
Okay, so, faith equals convention. Sorry, guys. Okay, what chance? Zayn is asking, what chance is there that Iran and Pakistan will become secular again?
Oh my God, what a hard question. Okay, so, well, the thing is that just look at how fast. Okay, I'm going to give you two examples of how fast things can change. I usually give these two examples, but the question is, the right answer is we don't know. And I think anybody that tells you that they know, they're bluffing. But Iran, so if you look at Germany, for example, Germany went from a country that was gassing Jews because they were an inferior race to a country that had, for a very short while, had an open door policy to all refugees because any form of screening was seen as discrimination within one generation, right? So imagine how far a country has gone to go from that view to the other. And then if you look at Iran, for example, you could see a country that went within one generation from being the only country that banned hijab in public, right? During Reza Shah's time, hijab was illegal in public, to becoming a country that made the only country that made hijab mandatory for everybody in public, including non-Muslims and foreigners. So the only country in the world that banned hijab in public to the only country in the world that made hijab mandatory for everybody within one generation. So changes happen, very fast, and they're very unexpected sometimes, and nobody predicted either of those, right? So trying to predict these things is, I don't think it's even worth trying.
I agree with you. I think that in my lifetime, the way that I've seen the acceptance of same-sex and homosexuality has been astounding. What I've seen in just sort of 10 years, 15 years, when I thought that it would take, at that time, you'd ask, how long, we're still about 50, 100, 20, 200 years away. But when the walls start crumbling down, they crumble down fast. And sometimes all it takes is a different generation. One generational change can completely upend the entire sort of, like in the U.S., socialism. Whoever thought that socialism would become a popular thing? Bernie Sanders was massive. He still is, and it's becoming a less taboo word. It's really interesting how these things happen.
But
same thing with Trumpism. Yeah.
Christy and BJ are saying, don't forget to mention Christy's comment on my book. before you go. So
I absolutely will. I'm going to get there. So so that means that I'm going to have to scroll down a lot faster.
Wait, is Chrissy leaving?
No. It's just there's a lot of comments, man. There's like hundreds comments here. So exMuslims. I'm trying to like cover stuff that is different and is new.
It's okay. Just go in order.
Yeah. And my computer's kind of slowing down too.
Okay, you need my help? I'm gonna read something.
Huh? Yeah, just read something. And read the comment. Where's the comment about your book?
I lost it.
Oh my God.
She's giving me a timestamp, but I don't know how to find it by the sentence. Okay, here.
11:46. Oh, Chrissy, so I lost it too.
Ooh.
10:56 is my comment about Armin's book.
Okay.
Shit. I'm not leaving here until I say that.
No, it's
in fact, that's the last thing I'm going to say because we got to wrap up now anyway.
Okay. Wait. Okay.
So find it, and while you're finding it, okay. A lot of you are asking about this picture behind me again, so I said it. I'm just going to say, should I plug her thing? I'll plug it. Purple Canvas Photography. Go on Facebook, look up Purple Canvas Photography, or look up Dream Boudoir Toronto. Dream Boudoir Toronto, and you'll find all her photography. Anyway, go ahead.
Chrissy said, Armin just finished your book last night, and then she also followed up by saying something else. Oh, she said, stupendous, really strong, and I can't wait to bust it out when talking to my family. Oh wow, good luck with that.
Yes, I
but I also want to read her last comment because it was a good way to end it today. Where is Chrissy's comment? She said something about gay marriage. Where is it? Oh, yay for same-sex. Chris is saying, yay for same-sex marriage. I'm engaged to a wonderful lady. Well, congratulations. That's really great. Actually, Chrissy is a really great fan of most of our show, Atheist Republic and Secular Jihadists, and I really appreciate having her in the live chat. She makes she has a lot of positive energy when she's in the live chat. So thank you for being here. Beach as well. But yeah, any other comments you want to read?
No, I think we're good. We should wrap up, guys. All of you who commented here, who asked questions, I'm really sorry if we couldn't get to all your comments, but we literally just had hundreds of comments here. So
one thing we have for our patrons right now, by the way, is like we have private and public group chats and private chat and one-on-one chats. There's a link in the description, so check it out if you want to meet with me or Ali or both of us. So check that out.
Hit us up and we'll schedule it.
Yeah. So thank you, Hussein. Thank you, Mike. Oh, hi, Mike. Thank you, Beach. Light and Light. There was a book suggestion that I'm gonna check it out. I think it was Misquoting Muhammad. That sounds very interesting. I'm gonna check it out. And also, some very tough questions by Nusantara Rising, which makes me want to keep learning more because I feel like there's a lot of things that we don't know, especially when it comes to Malaysia and Indonesia.
Guest suggestions. Send us guest suggestions.
Bring us people that could educate us. Bring us people that know more than us. Suggest like in the comment section of the not live version of this. Suggest guests to us that are expert at whatever you want us to cover. So we can, Ali and I can learn, and you guys can learn as well. And we got another $10 super chat at the very last second. Thank you so much, James.
James, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And he's saying thanks for the show, guys. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Brian is saying bye, guys. Anyways, love you guys.
I have one announcement before we go. I am speaking at the University of Toronto in Mississauga on October 2nd. They have gotten a lot of letters of concern because there's a lot of Muslims there. So now they have added on an Islamic professor to question me afterwards as well, which is going to be amazing because there'll be a lot of Muslims in attendance in the audience. So if you're in or around Toronto, October 2nd, University of Toronto, Mississauga campus, the Snyder Lecture, I'm delivering it then at 7 p.m. Would love to see you there. Could use a lot of secular and ex-Muslim support over there because we know that the other side will be out there in numbers. Quite high numbers. So
and also please. I'm speaking on Wednesday at UBC, And we're getting a lot of pushback for that because the name
because
of
the title is
the
amazing.
title is How to Defeat Islam. But amazingly, I've been trying to get leftists to come, and also very far leftists, and also Muslims to come. And the Muslims are being more understanding than the leftists. Like, I'm getting a lot of personal attack from the far leftists. I don't know why. But but I'm hoping it's interesting because we've been advertising this event to Muslims and people on the far left, and they're telling me that this event is a dog whistle to the far right, even though the only people we're advertising it to is Muslims and people from the left. So which is interesting. We got before we go, we need to say another super chat. This tonight has been amazing with so many super chats. Hasnain Shabir, thank you so much for the super chat, and he's saying thanks. He or she is saying thanks for the hard work. Wow, sweet, thank you. Best of luck to both of you. Thank you guys. Thank you. Master of Synapsis, thank you.
I don't think we can go and read everybody's names here, but we did. Whoever was here. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Remember, Sam Harris. Remember, first of all, secularjihadist.com. Go on there. Sam Harris is on the podcast on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you're a patron, you can join up as a patron at secularjihadist.com.
Also, live. I just want to read one more comment. Chris is saying, "Grr, I'm so left. My people are pissing me off." So
hey, join the club.
That's good. All right. Okay. Bye. Good night, guys. Everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.